Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word Live and to some qualifying watch-along for the 2020 Tuscan Grand Prix, our first ever Formula One race around Mugello, and I cannot wait. I hope you're all looking forward to this one. I share everyone's reservations and concerns about the race on Sunday being a little bit disappointing because the track is not really geared towards overtaking, and we already know these Formula One cars are very difficult to overtake in, but I've got to say, watching the cars in practice, wow, they look so good around that track. They are practically flat out for like most of it. It's ridiculous. They look so good around that track, and I'm very excited to see what happens in quali. Hopefully we get a great race. Obviously, we'll find out tomorrow, but it could be that this is the most exciting action of the weekend. But I hope you're all enjoying your Saturday so far. If you're in the UK, football back after that insane long Premier League break as well, so plenty going on. Yes, very much looking forward to some Formula One, though. It's exciting times. I can't wait. I love Mugello. Can't wait. I said it last week for Portimao and the Nürburgring and Turkey. It's all good. It's all good. The championship might be done, but we've got a lot of good tracks and hopefully some great racing to look forward to. As well, just quickly this morning, we've had FP3. It's looking very, very exciting as well. Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton separated by 0.08 of a second. And of course, Mercedes can't go cranking their engine up to full power, can they, today? So maybe, just maybe, Max Verstappen is right in the fight for pole position. But in terms of qualifying, it's got to be. Valtteri Bottas needs pole today. He needs to get to turn one first. I firmly believe, and I'm sure many of you will agree, that whoever gets to turn one first tomorrow out of those two Mercs is probably going to win the race, because you can't really do a massive amount of overtaking. It looks like, based on the F3 this morning, it's turn one and turn one alone, although I must say, some stunning overtakes around the outside of turn one and some very brave moves elsewhere on the track, but you've got to really want to stick your nose in there and take a big risk if you want to make a move anywhere other than turn one. But yeah, they look great. But as some have pointed out on Twitter, that'll get very boring when we get halfway through tomorrow's race. It's like, yeah, they look fantastic, but come on, do something. So it's very, very mixed feelings this weekend, but still we'll see. It might be epic. We don't know. We've never raced here in Formula One. It could be insane, but looking at the track itself, it's definitely a bike track, isn't it? It really, really is. You can see it in the way it's all designed and laid out. But I do want to talk about track design a little bit later, because some concerns over pit entry and pit exit. We saw an incident yesterday with Perez and Raikkonen. But first of all, for those asking, quali is in 25 minutes from now. But first of all, we've got to talk about this. The big story of the week. Where have you been if you've missed it? Wednesday night, Sergio Perez announcing that he will be leaving Racing Point at the end of this year. And then 12 hours later, it was confirmed that Sebastian Vettel will be racing for the team when they're rebadged as Aston Martin next season. It's probably the worst kept secret I could think of for a while in Formula One. Probably since Stroll's acquisition of the team and us all wondering who was going to be in that car alongside Perez. We all knew it was going to be Stroll. Worst kept secret for a while, but I think it seems to have divided the fan base a lot more than I thought it would. I thought that Sebastian Vettel would be, for some people, a no-brainer, but I know there are a lot of people saying, hang on a minute, great, he's got 4 world titles, Sean, that's fantastic. What's he done recently? Look at form. And you might think that given, not necessarily talking about this season, but recent form and perhaps some of the mistakes he's made over the last couple of seasons, that maybe he's quite lucky to find himself in a seat in Formula One. But the draw of a 4-time world champion was pretty much what he can bring to a team was demonstrated immediately. That announcement went out and Aston Martin's stock rose by several points with that news. So it shows what it can do. So that's kind of why he's there, isn't he? From a business point of view, bringing in Sebastian Vettel makes a lot of sense. But you can't deny either that as much as we all seem to love him, Sergio Perez has had his problems as well. So, he's not been phenomenal. I feel a bit from this year. Obviously, he had a couple of races off with COVID, obviously. Was unlucky last weekend. He was beating Stroll in Monza. I don't tend to look at that as too much because it's not a representative weekend based on everything else that happened that weekend. Crazy Grand Prix. But, yeah, I think Lance Stroll has really stepped up this season. Sergio Perez has not been, I don't want to say he's not been consistent. He has been fairly consistent aside from the last couple of races, although 2 10th places is very consistent, if you get what I mean. But I definitely think he seems to have dropped off a little bit this year, but I still don't doubt his talent whatsoever, and I still think he's one of the best in that midfield on any given day. I try to look at it from his point of view. If you've got all these questions about your future, it doesn't feel like the team are behind you. We see again this weekend, Stroll's getting the updates and Perez isn't. Maybe there's more to this than the timing screens, if you like, are showing. But I think the big question, I suppose, is, and I'll put it to you. I'll do it straight to chat. We'll go straight in with a question. Who would you have taken, Vettel or Perez, to put alongside Stroll? Because we can talk about Lance Stroll all you want. He could have been driving around in 20th place in one of the best cars on the grid. If his dad owns a team, he's still keeping that seat. That's never going to change. So that's not even... The Stroll debate's a little bit pointless because he was always going to get that seat. So it was about who's going alongside him. But on recent form, I'd be inclined to say Perez, but again, from a business point of view, Sebastian Vettel brings so much with him, doesn't he? So it's a difficult one. And it looks like we've got a split chat as well. Few saying Checo, some saying Vettel. Warren M, good afternoon, mate, says Vettel. Checo for Vinay. Tommy's gone with Vettel. Checo for Ben, both. So somebody there wants rid of, your name disappears, sorry, wants rid of Stroll there. Checo. Vettel, lots of mixed in chat, as I kind of expected, really, when I put that question to you. It's going to be interesting. And we'll see. I mean, it might be, I said it on Thursday, it might be the reset that Sebastian Vettel needs to kind of get his career back on track. He has had, people say, he was in the mix for the championship at some points in 2018, so saying he's had a rough couple of years isn't fair, but he was making mistakes in 2018. He was spinning. There was something going on with the front end of that car or whatever, or the rear end. He was making errors, so it's not just about looking at championship position, it's about what he's doing on track. So he's not been at his best, and this season, I mean, I'm not, quite frankly, Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel, I'm not even going to judge them too much this year because that car is so bad that I don't really think it's fair to say that they're having a rough old time, and there's no doubt whatsoever in my mind that Sebastian Vettel will not have the best updates and the best car out there because he's leaving, and that's how Formula 1 works. If you've got a driver leaving, they're not going to get the updates. Stroll's got the updates for Racing Point this weekend. Of course he has. What's the point in giving them to Perez? He doesn't care what they're going to be doing next year when they're testing stuff out, does he? So that's that. But I do find it quite curious, and I do like how things work out like this in Formula 1 sometimes, that Sebastian Vettel is leaving Ferrari. And you go, it's Ferrari. Why would you leave Ferrari to go to Check's Notes, Racing Point, set to become Aston Martin? But the irony is, next year, despite that big name Ferrari, he's probably going to be in a car that's doing better than, again, that big name Ferrari. So he's technically, people talking about him taking a step back into the midfield, but technically based on this season, he's actually taking a step up the grid. Whether that's going to be the same in 22 or not, I don't know. But Racing Point should be around about where they are now next year, and Ferrari, we don't know what they're going to be next year. They're not going to be top end of the grid, they're not going to be front of the grid for sure. So he's actually ironically taking a step up, which is quite interesting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what is going on with Lance Stroll. Apologies for the scroll, I've just noticed at the bottom of the screen it still says driver A and driver B. They are your new drivers for the day. I'll change that in a minute. But yeah, it was all Bottas, but I don't actually know how Stroll's going to get on against him. I think it's a tougher fight than perhaps some are expecting. I've just got a feeling Vettel will get in that car. It'll be a big reset for him, and then boom, we'll suddenly start to see the real Sebastian Vettel, the one we've been used to for so many years. Because I've always said it, and it annoys people all the time. But I do think he deserves a lot more respect. I do think he deserves a lot more credit for the job he's done in Formula 1. And form is temporary, class is permanent. We'll see. If he gets in that car and he's still terrible, then obviously form isn't temporary. We'll see, won't we? But yeah, big news. Big news. So I fixed the scroll. It says Bottas. Now, he's topped all 3 sessions. This is a big weekend, and Lewis Hamilton talking about needing to nail it this weekend and trying to get used to the track, and he's struggling. I don't believe that. I think he'll go out in qualifying, be right up there for pole. I believe he'll be in that fight, but we'll do some predictions later. But Bottas needs this one, as I said at the top of the stream. So topping all 3 sessions. Yeah, topping all 3 sessions is certainly a great way to start the season, or to start the weekend. But back to Perez for a moment, talk about his future. Where he goes. I mean, where does he go? Does he want to take that step down to what is, and it is a step down, to Alfa Romeo? Does he want to step down to Haas? He's not going to go to Williams. I'm just trying to think of the seats. The only real top seat available is Red Bull. I mean, Mercedes are going to tie down Lewis Hamilton. They're starting talks again with the gaps coming up, is what Toto Wolff has said, so that's not an option. Red Bull could be. Race Fans did an interesting article on that this morning that's well worth a read. It's out there somewhere on their website. So maybe a Red Bull, if Albon doesn't step it up and they don't want to promote Gasly, maybe Gasly and Albon at AlphaTauri next year, waiting for Tsunoda to come in. I don't know. But I just look at Haas and I look at Alfa Romeo and I think if I'm Checo, do I really want to take that step back? Because Alfa are not going to have, even with a budget cap, they're not going to be spending all of that money because they haven't got that money because they are Sauber. End of. Haas have got good money from Gene Haas, but they're, again, not one of the richest teams on the grid. How much of a leap forward are they going to take? So I do wonder if there's this talk of him possibly racing for McLaren in IndyCar, and I just wonder if maybe that's an option for him next year. Because, yeah, Formula One is, again, in air quotes, the pinnacle of motor racing or motorsport, but do you really want to be driving around back end of the midfield, back of the grid in an Alfa Romeo, which is where they are at the minute, and a Haas, which is, again, where they're probably going to be next year because we haven't got much development coming? Or do you think, well, actually, do you know what? I will go give IndyCar a go. I will go try something somewhere else. And then if in 22 a seat becomes available at a Mercedes, a Red Bull, a whoever, wherever else, maybe I can come back to Formula One then. It's going to be about what motivates him. And an interesting point as well in that Race Fans article about his sponsorship. Does this Mexican company that back him want to pay $20 million a year to have their name plastered on a Haas or an Alfa Romeo if it's down the back of the grid? Where's the incentive for them? So really, it's quite obvious to me that Alfa would want him. I think Haas would want him, but does he want to take that step back? Nothing against those teams, of course. They're still great teams, but difficult. It's a difficult one. It really, really is. I'd quite like to see him, because I'm sick and twisted. I'd quite like to see him in a Red Bull. Nothing against Albon, nothing against Gasly, or any of their drivers for that matter. But I kind of wouldn't mind seeing him in a Red Bull just to see what he can do in a top team. Now he's matured a bit more against one of the best drivers on the grid. And then we're going to get to see where Checo is, because we talk about him being one of the best in that midfield. Let's see what he can do against the big boys in the top cars. That'd be quite interesting, but I think that is going to be... I think Albon will stay next year. I think they'll give him another year because there's no major threat from Ferrari, and I don't really think Red Bull are going to finish any lower than second next year, so give him a bit of time and see how he gets on, and then make a change for 22. I don't know. We'll see. But yes, on to this weekend. I'll take a couple of comments from chat, actually, on Perez before we talk about this weekend. I'm going to put a hot lap of Mugello on for you now and some B-roll because I'm just, why not? Got that from Ferrari this morning. Very exciting stuff. I think you'll probably have seen the Marc Genet hot lap because it was on F1 social media, but it is a Ferrari media thing, so I thought I'd pop it on there. He can gamble for 22, says Henry Lynn. That's a good point. Never know, do you? Alfa or Haas could end up... We saw Haas only a couple of years ago up the top end of the midfield, so maybe they could make that leap again. Bruh, says Perez would be amazing in Red Bull. Perez Red Bull, says Jay. Mick Schumacher to Alfa. Hulk replaces Kvyat, who retires. I think Hulkenberg to Haas seems to be gaining some traction, but that was before Perez was officially made available, so we'll see. Perez might make it work in Red Bull, but he will never get a seat there. I agree. I don't see it happening. It would be cool. And Sam says Ferrari is doing something with Seb's car. Conspiracy theories. We love them, don't we? Who is getting Kimi's seat for 21 pending retirement from the Ferrari juniors? I think that's a shootout in the championship. It's looking like Mick Schumacher. If they're going to promote anybody, that seems to be the way they're leaning. But I'd quite like to see Callum Ilott get a chance, and Robert Schwartzman as well has been very, very good. So it's difficult. Yeah, good point on the M2 podcast, just pointing out the Thai sponsorship at Red Bull. That's a very good point. Obviously, they've got massive Thai investment there. I think they're are they almost partners or possibly something around there? So they're not going to be too keen to see them losing Alexander Albon. But ultimately, Helmut Marko isn't going to give a damn about that, is he? He will want results. So, yeah, definitely. It's something to consider. It's definitely something to consider. And one more, very, very quickly. Kimi will retire after getting most Grand Prix in his belt. That's from Sankow. I tend to agree, actually. I think that's what he's waiting for, and then he'll retire at the end of the year. I don't think we'll see Kimi in F1 last year. But as I've said, the last few weeks I've been saying that pretty much every year since I've had the channel, and it's only 3 years old, so there's absolutely no way. Kimi could be here forever. We're going to have to accept Kimi might just be in Formula One forever. And to be fair, I think he will in some capacity, even if it's just an ambassadorial role, but I don't expect to see him doing too much ambassadorial work. But yeah, very, very much Kimi sticking around for a while, I would imagine. But anyway, looking forward to this, as I've said a couple of times now, and that's the lap on there. I don't know what car is that. The 2010 Ferrari, possibly. Just looking at that nose, I don't know really. I should have checked the notes on that one. But yeah, Marc Genet doing a lap a couple of years ago back at Mugello. But it does look like a great fun track to drive. But as I said, I'm not expecting great racing. But I'm a bit concerned over the pits. We saw in practice yesterday Sergio Perez coming out of the pit exit. Obviously, as you do when you're coming out the pits, you tend to go via the exit. But coming down on the pit exit, he kind of doesn't brake hard enough and hits Kimi Räikkönen into a spin. Now, that, in practice, is a very minor accident. He's got a one-place grid penalty, by the way. Hope he's learnt his lesson after that shocker. But he's got a one-place grid penalty, so he's been penalised for that, and it's not a massive accident. But if you've got the race and you've got a car barrelling down there, and it's the difference between a podium and fourth place with a few laps to go after a surprise safety car or something, you've got a car barreling down there and no one's going to give an inch, and there's always that risk of a Maldonado Gutierrez situation from Bahrain a few years ago where somebody gets hit and flipped, and that's a concern. I think the pit exit is very clumsy. I find Paul Ricard is another one that's very, very clumsy. That's absolutely it. But I think Martin Brundle was just pointing out on Sky before I went live that they've basically parachuted, as he puts it, into the circuit. They are leasing the circuit for the weekend to keep the racing going and to keep the season going. So there's no... It's why they're not monitoring track limits, because they haven't got the sensors in the track. They've not got all the infrastructure there to do that, and they can't really go tweaking the pit exit across the weekend because there just isn't the time. But I think the pit entry is actually as much of a concern for me as the exit, because when you watch them in F3 in the race, and indeed in practice, they're coming off that final corner so wide, and they're crossing that pit entry, and the speed limit boards come up quite quickly after that. So if you've got people sort of right on the rear wing of others in the race tomorrow, we could see some very close incidents, because there's going to be people sweeping into the pits who they seem to sort of sweep out a little bit before pulling into the pits, and that could cause an accident. And it just looks really sloppy. But again, there's not really a lot they can do about that. So keep an eye on that in quali. Definitely. That's going to be something to watch to see how far wide they're going when they're flat out. It'll be different in the race. I don't think it'll be quite so wide. You don't need to take those risks, do you, early on in the Grand Prix, but that's going to be something to keep an eye on today and tomorrow. So there is concern there, but again, I feel like I quote him all the time, quoting Martin Brundle, these are the best drivers in the world. They need to find a way to avoid running into the back of each other in that situation, so we'll see. D. Weberist says, why so serious? Carrots, carrots, carrots. I love you a lot. You're as weird as I am. Fantastic. 5 minutes till quali. 5 minutes till the music kicks off. Sort of 10 minutes from the green light at the end of the pit lane, which is very exciting stuff. So, yeah, keep an eye on the pits is what I'm saying for this weekend. But I think, really, we ought to do some predictions, I reckon, with a few minutes to go until we get started for quali. Bottas needs this, and I'm going to go with Bottas pole because he's been pretty good so far this weekend, topping all 3 sessions. So I'm going to go with him for pole position today. And I think it will still be a Mercedes front row. I'm trying to think if I fancy Max Verstappen getting in between them as he did in FP3, but I think it will, when Hamilton gets his foot down, I think it will still be a Mercedes front row. But I'm going to go Bottas for pole, Hamilton second, and it will be Verstappen third. Absolutely. But keep an eye on Lance Stroll. He's been right up there. He was again this morning, so he might be able to upset the party, although that said he was half a second off this morning, so maybe not. But Pierre Gasly's looking good as well. Of course, race winner from last time out. Don't come in here with your Arsenal scores. It'll just depress me. M2 podcast. I'm joking. I think that's Bottas for pole for me. And I think I'm probably eating those words a little bit later because it tends to happen, doesn't it? No live footage in the stream. Apologies. I say apologies. There's nothing I can do. But yeah, no live footage obviously in the stream for copyright reasons. I'm still saving up for the rights, but a long way off just yet. Hamilton, Bottas and Verstappen. Arthur says Hamilton pole for Justin. Commander Benkai says Max for pole. That could be a good shout. Like I say, not far off in FP3. You never know. FT Chris says thanks, you jinxed it. Dan, good afternoon, mate. Dan shall be joining me once again, 3 in a row for the race reaction stream tomorrow. Glutton for punishment, both of us. Says Grosjean Q3. He was in it this morning, mate. Was he top 10? I think in FP3, so maybe. You never know. You never know. Bloomy's here as well. Good afternoon, mate. Going with K-Mag for Q3. I love that. You two have got a rivalry now. You really, really have. Bottas, Verstappen, Hamilton, Perez, Albon is a top 5 from Eric. Hamilton pole for Eamon. Corey's gone with Albon. Sorry, another conversation. Ignore that. Corey has not said Albon for pole. At least one red flag today question. Possibly. Bottas pole, third by lap 2. Says individual 1. He doesn't nail it, does he, off the line this season? He's either jumping the start or not quite getting it right. 2 more very, very quickly. Latifi pole, says Jack. That's funny, but at one point today he was 6th. I know he fell back down the order, but there was a moment where he was ahead of, I think, Albon and Vettel, and we're all going, oh my God, I think he did finish above Vettel, actually. But yeah, just wondered if Williams were going to surprise. One more. Let's go with Khalifa K, says Bottas, Hamilton and Verstappen as a top 3. Yes. Loving this. I've missed the watch-alongs. I genuinely have. You'll all be like, oh, you bloody moan about them enough, but no. Thank you, Bloomy. I got your DM, mate. I shall message you after the stream, obviously. Booking some Bloomy time next week. I've got some work I need doing, and I can't do graphic design for... Yeah. So, yes. But, yeah, very, very much enjoyed it last week. Back for quali. Race watch-alongs, not tomorrow, before you ask, but hopefully all being well penciled in for Russia. So yes, just waiting on some stuff. That's all I'll say on that one. So yeah, very much excited to bring them back as well. But looking at the Ferrari on TV now, that livery, I saw the pictures and I was like, not a fan. I think John T it was over on Twitter saying it looks like something from McDonald's. And then you look it out on track and it does look very, very nice. It's a very, very nice livery. It's a maroony. Is it maroon? Burgundy? It looks brown from some angles, not gonna lie. But it does look really, really nice. And just hoping they have better luck than Mercedes had when they changed their livery in Germany last year. Could do with seeing Ferrari get a good result. Leclerc's been okay so far this weekend. 7th this morning. So... sort of on the fringes of the top 10 as the music kicks in, ready for quali. So we're 5 minutes away from the green light. We'll go to the watch on screen in a moment, of course. But yeah, I think they're looking good. But Renault and McLaren both appear to be having a bit of a rough old weekend of it. They don't seem to be massively on the pace. Obviously, it's only practice. We never know, but keep an eye on them in quali. I think they might struggle for Q3. That said, they're going to now lock out the front row or something stupid like that. Race watch on the most boring race, says Kieran. Probably the best race to do it then. At least we can sit and talk about cheese or something. Do you know what I mean? There's something to talk about if there's nothing happening. Definitely. Yes, I think we'll go to the watch on screen in a second, but I am just going to pop my headphones on quickly so I can hear Crofty. I like having Crofty in my ear, honest. I need to be fair, so keep up with team radio and that, but yes. Ferrari's 1000th Grand Prix. Do the chat at some. We'll have to do a live stream at some point and we'll chat about our favourite Ferrari memories, but obviously mine are all going to be Michael Schumacher related, but yes. I'm so giddy for this race. It's so stupid. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be like Imola. I'm going to be so giddy all weekend and then the race will be absolutely shockingly bad and I'll never want to go back there again. But I love when we get... Obviously, it's not a new track, but a new venue for the calendar. I always enjoy that. It's a variable, isn't it? Especially Imola's weekend with a two-day weekend, only one 90-minute practice session. That's going to throw some stuff into the mix. And I was quite surprised actually this morning, not many drivers out on track early on and quite a lot of time sat in a garage. So maybe we do need to be looking at 2-day weekends for every race, really. Certainly Spain. We don't need to be doing all that testing and practice there. So deltas for the tyres, 0.9 between the soft and the medium, 1.6 slower is the hard. So quite a delta between the tyres actually. Which I suppose isn't really all that surprising. Headed over then to the watch along screen. Once again, live timing very generously provided by Cranky Yankee F1. Thank you very much, mate, for that. Massively appreciated. Make sure you check his channel out. Link in the description and link to the website as well. I still haven't sorted that scroll bar. I'll work on it throughout the stream and keep moving it around so that you've got an order, but it doesn't matter right this second. So I'm going to leave the top 20 on as well because a few of you got in touch to offer some feedback. You didn't like having a top 10 and then another 10. You wanted the full 20, so there we go. Obviously on mobile that's going to be difficult to read, but there is the scroll at the bottom which I'll adjust in just a second so you can at least keep up with the order. The flag is not red, obviously green rather, red. We're not quite ready to go just yet, but there will be a timer as well up there, so awesome. Will Vettel get into Q2, says M2 Podcast? I think he will. We've had that the last couple of weekends, haven't we? All this talk about, is that Ferrari going to make its way into Q2, or are we looking at possibly falling out in Q1, and they haven't? So I think he will. But again, I also thought Kimi Raikkonen was going to retire last year, so what do I know? I'm not very good with the old predictions, as you will know. But yeah, I think he should do. I can't see him being behind. Well, same power, isn't it? Alpha and Haas. Again, no Grosjean, pretty pacey this morning. The Renaults should be okay. The McLarens. Yeah, Albon needs a more comfortable weekend, doesn't he, in qualifying they had last weekend? Seemed to be almost dropping out constantly. Right on the bubble, as they like to call it. I'm sick of hearing about bubbles. Not about anybody else. Ferrari does look very, very nice. Just looking at it on the TV now at Mugello. Looking very, very pretty. Who have we got as a driver steward this weekend? Not Johnny Herbert, hopefully, making decisions like that. Just talk about track limits on Scott. Yeah, I did mention that a minute ago. They're not monitoring track limits because they can't really. And the argument is that around tracks like Mugello, your track limit is the gravel track, which is exactly what it should be. If you go too far wide, you're in the gravel. But they're all cutting. At turn 14, a driver will be judged to have left the track if no part of the car remains in contact with the red and white green. Okay, so they've changed it. Red, white, and green apex curb. So they have changed the track limits rules for turn 14 because drivers have been straight lining it. Because they weren't going to monitor them, so they are going to monitor that. So they have changed the race director's notes. Interesting. You will lose your time if you cut straight across that chicane as they were in practice, which was frustrating to watch because that's not the racetrack. But at the same time, you can kind of understand from a driver's point of view, they're going to do all they can to shorten the racetrack. That's kind of the point. That's why they're there, isn't it? To get around as quickly as possible. No straight lining that anymore. They will be caught out. Bottas, I think, was we just saw a Racing Point with a quite extreme one, but I think Bottas was really over the line with that one. Quite literally. Exactly, Bloomy. It's just a corner cut, isn't it? It's let's not get back into that too much. It was like Verstappen at Kota a couple of years ago when he got dropped from the podium. It's like, I understand people saying Kimi was putting the squeeze on or whatever was the excuse at the time, but he did literally cut the corner to gain a position. But the session is underway. Timer will be up in just a few seconds. We are green for Q1. Quiet start, I'd imagine. First out on track are the Williams boys, as you might expect. Of course, their first weekend, isn't it, without Claire or Sir Frank on board. So there you go. George Russell lost this morning. Brake issues. Didn't get much done in Q. In fact, didn't get anything done in Q3. No laps, no time. So he's got out nice and early to get some laps on the board. Latifi out there as well, both on the softs. Again, as you would expect for those. Can we see George Russell in Q2, do we reckon? Nicholas Latifi was looking fairly handy this morning. So maybe a Williams into Q2. I mean, a Williams into Q3 would be insane. But yeah. Drivers heading out there. I think that timing screen's readjusted itself annoyingly. Bear with me, peeps. Peeps. Don't start the peeps, Sean. Don't do it. It has indeed. That's why it all looks off. That solves it. Yeah, we're underway. Abu Dhabi 4649, ready to go. We are go. 15 minutes and 50 on the clock. George Russell just starting his fast lap now. It's such a lovely flowing circuit. It really, really is. So quick. So flowing as well. Loving watching the cars around here. Again, it's not to make great racing, but we can enjoy quali. Get excited about that. 28.3, first sector for Russell. We'll see what his teammate does when he comes through. See how close he's at. I wouldn't mind staying on board through turn 14. See if he's sticking to the track rather than cutting straight across it. Lovely through that. It is such a nice track on board. I see George Russell do his commentary as well. Commentating over a lap was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. 28.2, so a tenth quicker for Nicholas Latifi. And that's what I mean, just wide out the final corner. Pit entry just comes up very, very quickly, but it's over the line for George Russell with a 118 flat. His teammate is quicker, marginally, in the middle sector. He's marginally slower, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Marginally slower, but he was quicker in the first sector, so not a lot between these two. Round he goes. What's Latifi going to do? Just keeping another live timing. For some reason, we're not updating again. Over the line we go. 1:17.924. So a tenth of a second. Bear with me. I'm going to go off and try and sort this live timing out with just nothing between them there, the two Williams boys. 1 and 2 at the moment. Anybody else out on track? Perez, Stroll, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, they're all out there as well. So... yes, I don't know why it's not updating because the main page has, so that makes no sense whatsoever. I will try a refresh and we'll see how we get on. Did this yesterday when I was testing stuff out weirdly. Give it a minute, see if it does it. Everybody going out now. Bottas, Hamilton, Sainz, Norris is out as well. Say McLaren having some issues. That's for sure. Verstappen coming out on track now. Hate trying to fix technical issues live. You might have noticed. If it doesn't fix itself, we'll just head off to the screen and we'll have to just hope that it updates in a bit. But we'll see how we go. I could keep talking you through it. It's not a problem. Like a B-Tech Crofty, as I used to call myself. Uh, 22.1 it's reading for. Yeah, it's not updating properly on this one, but it is on the main page, which is really, really weird. So, I will head off over to the main screen for a moment while I sit in studio mode and tweak this one. So apologies about this, but I will try and keep you updated as Stroll coming through now. Who's out on track? Yeah, both. Well, Kvyat's out there as well. So Gasly, Leclerc, Albon, Grosjean, Ocon, Magnussen hits at the moment. So what I'll have to do for this is restore the defaults and start again. Did it yesterday. It was weird. And I still don't know why. Raikkonen on a lap now. So 49.6 is the fastest in the middle from Latifi. Giovinazzi doing all right as well out there. Giovinazzi's been pacey again this weekend. He's the driver that I think he's been solid this year, Giovinazzi, to be honest. I don't think he's been anything amazingly mega or anything like that, but I think he's been pretty good. He was last year. He was one of the surprises last year for me personally. That's yeah. Raikkonen goes second. Giovinazzi now goes second, 72. But Stroll's quickest on a 16.7. What I'm going to do, we can work this out. It's a plan. Stick with me. Honestly, I have plans. It's painful. Let's try that one. We'll do it as a display capture for now, and I'll tweak it as we go. here come the Mercs. At the minute, we've got the 2 Racing Points fastest, 16.7 for Stroll, 3 tenths behind is Perez. That's about to all change because Hamilton goes fastest, 15.7. Sainz up in 4th place, a bit more pacing at McLaren at the minute, but everybody else still to do time, so we shall see. But they are behind the Racing Points. 15.7 for Bottas, again quickest. What's Max doing? 16.3, so a little bit off. So look at, yeah, Verstappen, that's a surprise. I know it's only Q1, but that is a surprise. Fiat 6th, Sainz 7th, Giovinazzi in 8th, Norris 9th, Raikkonen 10th, Latifi 11th, and Russell 12th. Cut to 9 minutes, by the way, if anybody interested. I'm still tweaking with the stuff, so I will try. I'm keeping an eye on 2 things at once here. I'm a man. I can't multitask, and I'm fully aware that's a shocking generalisation, by the way. Watching on board with Vettel, trying to work out if his car's doing okay. Yeah, it looks... That Ferrari's really awkward on board. It never looks brilliant, but it never looks awful. Around this track, I mean, the onboards we've seen, it sort of doesn't... It's not one of those that you look at like the Mercury, you go, that is bolted to the ground, but it doesn't look as bad as it has in previous weekends. So I'm quite intrigued by that. I mean, it's pretty terrible, let's be honest. It's not a great car this season. Magnussen over the line goes P14. Albon, what's that lap like? 6th place, 1:17.0 versus what he did with Max. 7 tenths off his teammate. Only Q1. We'll see what he does later on. I think I'm coming to realise I can't win with when I do watch-alongs. I get complaints that they want to see the full 20. You want the full 20 on screen, and then I get told that you need to zoom in, but I can't zoom in because then you'll lose half of that sheet. Yeah, so apologies, but afternoon, Liam, mate. Hope you're okay. Yeah, they're definitely not cutting 14 like we were this morning. Latifi there, not cutting it at all, hardly. Gasly at the minute at risk. We're coming up to 6.5 minutes to go. Practically in the pit entry there, Latifi over the line. The 1:17.3 for Latifi, up to 13th place, ahead of Vettel again by a couple of hundredths of a second. So that's interesting. Maybe Latifi could out-qualify Seb. That would be an interesting thing. Just on the timing screen as well on screen, what I'll do is I'll keep talking through with my VTech Crofty today, give you some commentary for the rest of the session and just keep running through the order so you're not missing anything. But from Russia, and I know Bloomy's listening, so he'll be taking notes already, but there will be tweaks to the watch-along overlay so we can get more names on screen and more zoomed in so that we see a bit more. Probably just go with the first few columns there, so position, name, and then their time and the gap rather than everything. So we'll do that for the next one. I can't do it live because it'll mean shutting everything down and starting again with it. So yeah, but I will do it for the next one, but I will keep reading through. If you've got it on a TV or a laptop or anything like that, you should be okay. But I know on mobile it's not huge. Let's put it that way. Latifi then. We've got to 5 minutes to go. We've got Bottas fastest at the moment, 15.7. Hamilton 200, well, nearly 300s behind in second place. Verstappen is third, half a second behind. 4/10 clear of Lance Stroll in 4th. Sergio Perez 5th, 1.2 seconds off. Albon is 6th. Leclerc is 7th. Interestingly, Leclerc only 3/100ths off Albon's time, so he has got some pace, Charles, this weekend. Kvyat 1.3 off in 8th. 9th is Carlos Sainz. 10th is Daniel Ricciardo. There's nothing again in that midfield between drivers. Ocon 11th, Giovinazzi 12th, and then it's Latifi 13th, Vettel 14th. At the moment, Norris is the driver on that bubble, risking elimination in 15th, and then it's Gasly, Raikkonen, Russell, Grosjean, and Magnussen. So there we go. At the moment, we are set to lose Magnussen, Grosjean, Russell, Raikkonen, and Gasly. I'm sure there's more pace in that Haas. We saw it in practice this morning, so hopefully, all being well, that will sort itself out. Come on, Haas. Let's see you get through. RC says Gasly needs to do something. He does. He shouldn't be down there. He was pretty pacey before that. Stroll and Perez 4 and 5. They are indeed. That's solid. They were kind of fell away, didn't they? They weren't brilliant in what's it called? In Monza. They were one of the surprises for me in a bad way in Monza. I know he got a podium, but I mean prior to that, I thought they were going to be right up there with Mercedes and Red Bull, and they weren't really. So, yeah. Sergio Perez is out there by the look of it. Looking back on the camera with him. Timer is what's left of the session on screen. We're in Q1. We're in that awkward lull now. Perez can be first. He's going in the gap as they do in some of the feeder series. So we'll keep an eye on this lap now from Czech. Would have been cool on board. Would have been quite nice. But coming down to turn 1 now. Car's really slow on pit exit, staying out of the way as you would expect. Sweeping through. Lovely through 1 there from Checo. That little chicane, 2 and 3. Definitely no corner cutting there. Not going to do that really wide on the exit, but go any wider than that and you're in the gravel, so that's absolutely fine. Proper old school track. I'm waiting for turn 14. I want to see what he's doing there. I bet he's not cutting that like he was this morning, or like the footage showed earlier when they were showing the example. 2/10 down on Bottas, so it's not horrific from Perez. Softs as well, obviously. See what he does through here then. All these straight line things. That's not the right corner, Sean. Here we go. This is what I'm waiting for. I mean, no, nowhere near. They're not cutting that corner anymore like they were. So that's good to see. That's good to see. Blatant corner cutting. We don't want to see it. Or do we? Codemaster would be loving that, wouldn't they? Penalties all around. Here he comes to the line. At the minute, P5, and it is going to be P4 for Perez. 16.5, moves ahead of Stroll. 8/10 slower than Bottas's time, but a 10th quicker than his teammate. Wonder how much this track's going to evolve as well. We've had, obviously, practice and things like that, and we had the feeder series out this morning, F3, but there's not going to be... Got to be some track evolution in there somewhere. I think it'd be crazy, though. Not like we see at some tracks. Russell, on board with George Russell into turn 1 now. Coming up to that final minute of the session now. So, it looks like Stroll and Verstappen have stayed in the pits. So, everybody's on track except for Verstappen and Stroll. Bottas isn't either, sorry. Was surprised to see Hamilton out there on an outlap. Maybe he'll just come straight into the pits. Gasly's out there, obviously. Needs a good lap here at the minute. And George Russell out in the gravel. That's going to cost him a lot of time on the exit. He's still going. Kept it planted. Good lad. Good to see. Absolutely planted. He's lost his time. He was up in the first sector, but I think he's down now. That would have cost him a hell of a lot of time out in the gravel like that. So over to Magnussen then. Personal best first and second sector. He's down in 20th at the minute. What can he do? Going through the final few corners now. Or the final corner. Lovely final corner. No good for overtaking and whatnot, but still, very nice final corner in the pit entry again. Russell went 12th, despite going in the gravel. Magnussen only 16th, so Magnussen is out. Magnussen is definitely out. Ocon goes up to P6. Over the line goes Raikkonen, goes P9. What a lap from Kimi. Giovinazzi 13th. Over the line goes Grosjean, who jumps up to 10th place. Grosjean is through. Here goes Gasly over the line. Sorry, yeah, it's Gasly goes 13th. So at the moment, where is Lando Norris? Lando Norris needs a lap. He needs a lap. What's he doing out there? His personal best first and middle sector. At the minute, he's plumb last. Ricciardo goes up to 7th. Here comes Sainz to the line. Up to 8th place. Alex Albon doesn't need this lap. He's through. What is Norris doing? Albon goes 4th. Norris needs this. Needs a good lap. Will knock Giovinazzi out if he makes it through. And he does, all the way up to 8th place for Lando Norris. Now Sebastian Vettel, can he get through? 19th at the moment. Goes 14th. He does sneak through. Gasly, though, is out. I think we've still got some other laps out there improving. So Kvyat improves as well. So I think the big surprise from that one was, I suppose, for some of you, Vettel getting through. But Vettel is through. Pierre Gasly, race winner in Monza, is out in Q1. That is, wow, I think Gasly's a surprise there. The Gasly 16th, 5 100ths off Sebastian Vettel in 15th. Giovinazzi in 17th. Russell 18th, out qualifying his teammate by a 10th. Nicholas Latifi, and then it's Kevin Magnussen in 20th. They are the drivers we lost. Vettel only just sneaking through, but Roman Grosjean has made it through into Q2, so that's a good result for him, a great result for him. Kimi Raikkonen up in 13th as well, so that Alpha looking fairly decent. Obviously, not on a great start of great first half of the season. Really surprised to see Gasly out. I'm genuinely quite surprised. Yeah, Gasly, Giovinazzi, Russell, Latifi, Magnussen. I'm trying to get my head around that. AlphaTauri have had some good pace. Gasly was up in 5th this morning. I know, again, any practice. Just watching a replay of George Russell out in the gravel, kept it absolutely planted, still improved, and beat his teammate by a 10th. So it looks as though that is the fastest line around that corner. Half your car on the gravel. There you go. Wow. So yeah, we'll run through the order, and I'll take a couple of questions in a second as well, and comments. Valtteri Bottas fastest. I don't know why Lewis Hamilton's first on there, but he isn't. Valtteri Bottas fastest. Lewis Hamilton is in second place at 1:15.7, by the way, for both the Mercedes. Nothing between them. Max Verstappen in third on a 1:16.3, half a second off. Alex Albon in fourth, 7/10 off. Perez fifth. Leclerc in sixth, going very, very well. Seventh for Lance Stroll. Eighth for Esteban Ocon. Ninth for Lando Norris. 10th for Daniel Kvyat. 11th for Daniel Ricciardo. 12th for Carlos Sainz. It's 13th for Kimi Raikkonen, 14th for Roman Grosjean, 15th for Sebastian Vettel, and out go Pierre Gasly, Antonio Giovinazzi, George Russell, Nicholas Latifi, and Kevin Magnussen. That's just the way it is. Some things will never change, and all of that. Great tune. Do another refresh on this and see if we can get this scroll to update. Russell second fastest in Sector 3, so probably low downforce. Is Gasly out? He is indeed. When's Q2? We're just in that little bit of a lull in between. You know how it goes with all of this. Yeah. Giovinazzi pissed, says Risky. Yeah, where did he end up? 17th. Couple of tenths off. He wasn't far off, was he? Wasn't far off in the end. Rogro showing us why he is the best. Absolutely. We all know Rogro's the best. It's not even a conversation that needs to be had. We all know that one, don't we? Can't believe Vettel made it. That's Curtis. I don't think anybody can. I don't think Vettel can quite believe that Vettel made it through. In all honesty, it was on the cusp, wasn't it? It looked like he was going out. I think Gasly is the surprise. He is the surprise. Just to confirm, Gasly, Giovinazzi, Russell, Latifi, and Magnussen all out. There you go. Where was Kvyat in the end? Yeah, 10th place. So the pace is there, but that is a real shock. I'm not surprised by Magnussen, Latifi, Russell. Probably not even by Giovinazzi, even with Raikkonen up in 13th. But still, a shock there. Matt says, talk of Kimi leaving and he instantly improves. It's about right. It's about right. Yeah. just sound like the sort of thing he'd do, doesn't it? Warren says, was that Dan? Yep. Charles Leclerc. I think I'm intrigued by Leclerc. I mean, it's Silverstone, he was pretty pacey, and this track is, I think they were saying before this, third in terms of pace, in terms of speed, compared to with just behind Monza and Silverstone. So it's kind of a very Silverstone style track in that respect. So maybe it just suits the Ferrari, because Leclerc was good at Silverstone, wasn't he? So there you go. There you go. Track sucks on Assetto Corsa. It's going to be a single file F1 line, says Jude. I've not played it on Assetto. I've never done a lap of Mugello around on any game for that matter, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, I think the racing, this could be the most exciting stuff we get for the weekend, so we'll see. Here we go then. Q2 is underway. I'll change the header in a minute. We'll just get the timer going first. Are in Q2 already. There you go. First out, the two Mercedes, Bottas and Lewis Hamilton. Just before they go for the laps, I'll do my YouTube a bit. Don't forget to drop a like on the stream, guys. That'd be massively appreciated. Apologies again for the technical issues. I think we've sorted the timing screen out, and I'll make some adjustments based on your feedback for Russia. Tweaks need making, but that's not a problem at all. We'll sort that for the next race. No worries. Race Watchalong's back as well, so please do like it. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you are new. I will give you a very quick heads up as well. There'll be no content, bloody hell, next week. Aside from my illness earlier this year, which was, according to my GP, probable COVID. Very scary. I was fine. It was a horrible flu. I've not actually gone more than 4 days without uploading for three years. So yes, it'll be weird not uploading next week, but some things are being changed. But we'll talk about that another day. No need for that today. But yeah, please do subscribe and don't forget to drop a like as well. Massively appreciated. Social media links in the description as well, and the live timing links to Cranky Yankee and his channel are also down in the description. 11 cars on track: Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen, Albon, Perez, Leclerc, Stroll, both the Renaults, Raikkonen and Vettel. Kvyat now joins them out there. Norris, Sainz and Grosjean in the pits. Somebody just said Gasly lost grip, apparently. Yes, there you go. Thank you very much for that. Is it Gokul? Gokul? A loss of grip would make sense, because that pace was definitely there in that car. So Hamilton backing up. Go for his lap. Obviously crucial now what tyres are on. So it's soft for both. Well, it's soft for everybody again. So nobody risking the mediums at the moment. Moymeister says, so Horner mentioned Hulkenberg a potential candidate for Albon's seat, even though he's still their first option. I suppose any driver's an option, really. I mean, surprised that Hulkenberg linked. He was linked last summer, wasn't he? As a possible candidate, so maybe. I know he's linked heavily to Haas's Hulkenberg, but Hamilton now out there. Be first to do a lap. Bottas has very much been in control at Mercedes this weekend. So Hamilton needs to, if he wants pole, he's going to need to start to ramp it up now, because Bottas seems to have just hooked up around this track beautifully. And he needs it. We know he needs it. But I don't think, in terms of Red Bull, there'll be no changes mid-season. Hamilton purple and purple, Bottas green. So at the moment, Hamilton is the quickest out there. So is this the moment the whole weekend changes and Valtteri Bottas just goes, oh, do you know what? I give up. It doesn't matter what I do or how well I drive. There's just nothing I can do. Here goes Hamilton then to the line. We've already had the track record is going to be constantly beaten this weekend, so it's not really worth getting excited about. But it's a 15.3 for Hamilton. Over the line goes Verstappen. Very good lap, actually. 15.4, only a tenth off. Bottas over the line. What can he do? It's a 15.322. Oh, yes, please. We will have that in Q3, please. I don't care about the order. Hamilton, Bottas and Verstappen separated by a tenth and a half. That's better. So Hamilton 15.309, Bottas 15.322, Verstappen 15.471. Stroll goes fourth on a 16.2, Ocon on a 16.4. Leclerc moves up into fifth ahead of Ocon actually on a 16.3. So only a second off the Mercedes. That's a surprise. Perez goes into seventh on a 16.4. Albon 15.9 into fourth place, half a second off his teammate, but it's P4. That's where he needs to be. Ricciardo 16.2, so starting to show some pace now, Renault. They were a bit concerned about them in McLaren this morning. Kvyat into 10th place on a 16.8, 10 minutes to go. What's Lando going to do? Over the line, only 10th on a 16.6. Here comes Sainz. Sainz on a 16.8, so McLaren haven't got epic pace this weekend. But at the minute, in the drop zone, Kvyat, Sainz, Vettel, Raikkonen and Grosjean. Grosjean hasn't done a lap yet, though. I like that. I like how close that is a lot. Ricardo on team radio. Ricardo saying that was pretty decent. I'd agree with that. Very good lap. What's Grosjean doing by comparison? Let's have a look. 27.7 in the first. So that's not personal best, obviously, for this session because it's his first lap. Come on, Sean. You know, I'd love to see Grosjean just be the surprise of the day. Get himself in that top 10. It's a massive ask. I don't know. He's half a second off Norris. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be pretty epic. Weeping through the final corner. Prince of the Underground says, Bottas is exactly like last year. Starts well, Hamilton gets him. He needs a win, and he slowly lets the title slip. Exactly the same. He definitely needs a win this weekend. It does feel like we've been saying that for the last 3 weekends, though, doesn't it, Prince of the Underground, that he needs to win it. So everyone in the pits, well, Grosjean on his in-lap anyway. Super quick run through the order. We've got Hamilton currently fastest from Bottas, Verstappen and Albon. maybe an unsafe release there from the racing point in front of Verstappen. Swearing for Max. Yep. Over team radio. Ricciardo in 5th, Stroll in 6th, Leclerc 7th. I think Gasly's exit is a big surprise, but if Leclerc can get somewhere around there for Q3, that could be the surprise of the session. Ocon in 8th, Perez 9th, Norris in 10th, and then it's Kvyat, Sainz, Vettel and Grosjean, and then Kimi Raikkonen is last of the runners in Q2, and we've already lost Gasly, Giovinazzi, Russell, Latifi and K-Mag Magnussen. Fastest sectors, Hamilton 26.9, Hamilton 20.6 and Verstappen 27.2, was that? Or 27.5? It went off screen super quickly. Fill in the blank says Stroll is improving. Stroll is definitely improving this year. It helps that he's got a much better car, of course, than he's had over the last couple of years, but absolutely improving. I think surprising a lot of people as well. I've always said that he's quicker than he's given credit for, but I think he's surprising a lot of people this year. And I did actually say over on the F1 debate show when we were doing pre-season predictions that Stroll will beat Perez this year, but I have said that for the last 2 seasons. So it was a case of saying it until it came true one day. So I could have been saying it forever, but he's looking good, Stroll, this year. Up in P6 again, couple of tenths quicker than his teammate. What is the gap between Vettel and Verstappen? That's from Rocket. The gap between Vettel and Verstappen is an excellent... Just double check, he did say Vettel and Verstappen. Verstappen is on a 1:15.4. Vettel is on a 1:17.0. So that's a second and a half, 1.6 seconds-ish. So a big gap. A big gap. But it's good to see that there's a tenth and a half between the top 3. Because that could set us up very nicely for Q1. Because, of course, Mercedes can't crank up the engine like they used to do for Q1. For Q3, sorry. So this is what it is. This is the gap. This is the pace they've got. And here they all come again. 2 Ferraris looking lovely in that livery coming out on track. Stroll and Perez are already out there. They're going in the gap again. Hopefully won't get caught out by traffic. Into Ted. Love a bit of Ted. I don't know if you caught his thing on Gasly's win on Sky pre-show. That was interesting. Does make me laugh, does Ted. I miss him when he's not at an F1 weekend. I know it's sad. Good to see Albon close to the top consistently this week from Jerome, definitely. He needs to be 4th. If he can be 4th, he gives Red Bull options in the race. And he's 3 tenths clear of Ricciardo in 5th, so deliver that in Q3 and he's looking very, very good. But your bottom 5, just to remind you, Kvyat, Sainz, Vettel, Grosjean, Raikkonen, but there's not really an awful lot between them. So Kvyat is a couple of tenths off Lando Norris in 10th. In fact, Sainz and Kvyat have the same time. Vettel, I think he's got I think that's too much for Vettel to find. You're looking at half a second. Same with Grosjean, but it's certainly Kvyat and Sainz are certainly the ones to watch here. I think you're looking at Norris, Kvyat, Sainz battling for P10. I feel like Perez is just a little bit too far up the road in a 16.4. Here's Perez then. Could do with improving, just to make sure he gets through. 6 tenths up. 6 tenths down on Hamilton. Grosjean getting well out of the way. 6 tenths down would be a big improvement for Perez if he can carry that on, but obviously that's only the first sector. A lot of traffic, but it's all keeping out of the way at the moment. Stroll within half a second. So quicker than Perez at the moment. Perez a second down in that middle sector overall. So that's going to see him... He might not be too far off where he was, actually. P9. More traffic, but that should get out of the way. Does indeed. Sweeping through that lovely final corner. And then onto the straight. Super wide exit. Very, very wide. What's he going to do? 15.3 from Hamilton. His other time was... Well, what's he going to do? Hang on. Doesn't improve. 16.5 that lap, so he doesn't improve. Still a 16.4 is best. Everyone out there on the softs at the moment, so that is the tyre they are starting on tomorrow. Stroll doesn't improve either. But stays 6th. He should be okay in 6th. What's Leclerc doing? Personal best first. Not a brilliant middle sector. Vettel personal best first and second as well. We're on board with Seb at the minute on TV. Over the line, Vettel stays 13th, and unless he goes for another, he has got time to get round and do another lap if he wants to, but he's had the best out of them tyres now. Raikkonen goes 13th, ahead of Vettel and Grosjean, so that's not bad from Kimi at all. Norris needs to improve. Sainz definitely needs to improve. In fact, actually, wow, Kvyat 116.854, Sainz 116.854, Raikkonen 116.854. 3 drivers on an identical time. And that's Kvyat, Sainz and Raikkonen. There is nothing in it in there. Is it Sainz across the line? It is. Sainz goes 10th and knocks his teammate out. Over goes Ocon into 7th. At the moment, it's Norris, Kvyat, Raikkonen, Vettel and Grosjean in the bottom 5. Grosjean does not improve, stays 15th. That's it for him, I would say. But I think that is it. I don't think anybody... We saw this last week, didn't we? Had a good minute to go and nobody going for it again. I'm not... Are we surprised to see Norris down there? You look at who's through. You've got 2 Mercedes, 2 Red Bulls, 2 Renaults, 2 Racing Points. I suppose the Ferrari's a surprise. So we've lost Lando Norris, we've lost Daniel Kvyat, we've lost Kimi Raikkonen, Sebastian Vettel and Romain Grosjean. Big story there, though, I would argue, is probably Kimi Raikkonen qualifying ahead of Sebastian Vettel. What is, exactly, Emmanuel there, what is going on with Sebastian Vettel? Warren M, actually, good point, pointing out that Norris got midfield pole. He has got free choice of tyre now, hasn't he, in 11th place. So I sometimes think if you're in a car that is probably going to end up sort of 10th place, you'd be better actually qualifying 11th because then you get the free choice of tyre. It's only 1 place lower and you get a better strategy for the race. So not the end of the world for Lando in 11th. And Kvyat in 12th as well isn't terrible, but Kimi up there in 13th. Up there in 13th. I said up there in 13th, that is the highest position ever. But for that Alpha, that's a really good. And Kvyat trying a George Russell on the exit of that corner. Didn't quite work for him, though. That is why he is out. Race control. Kvyat off track and continued at turn 7. No. Sherlock. He was very wide. Very, very wide indeed. But yes, so Hamilton fastest in that session. Is that the first time? Is he quickest in Q2? That might be the first time he's been quickest all weekend. But he is quickest at the moment. Bottas second, Verstappen in third. Nothing between them. Albon in fourth. Daniel Ricciardo 5th, Lance Stroll 6th, Esteban Ocon 7th, Charles Leclerc 8th, 9th for Sergio Perez, 10th for Carlos Sainz, and then it's Norris, Kvyat, Raikkonen, Vettel and Grosjean, joining Gasly, Giovinazzi, Russell, Latifi and Magnussen on the sidelines, and we can get ready now for Q3. Commander Ben Kai says, softs on this track means if you are 11th with mediums or hards, you can do magic. I don't know what's the strategy. Do we know what the strategy is for tomorrow? I've not seen anything from Pirelli on it. We can do that in the... I can't, can I? I'm using screen capture. I can't go showing you my internet history. You'll all go mad. No, but I would... There was talk yesterday of possible 2 stops. I mean, if we get safety cars, which is very possible here, of course. Very, very possible. Because it's an old school track, so the walls bite hard and they come up very, very quickly. Gravel traps everywhere, so we could get some safety cars. So you could go from what looks like a 1-stopper to like an 8-stopper. That's a bit much, but yeah. Soft onto hard. Apparently. Yeah. Soft to hard or medium to hard. So I think that's what we're going to see. But they are the hardest tyres as well, aren't they, this weekend? It's the top end of the range. Softs are only meant to last 6 laps before dead kicks in. That's from Warren. Yeah, I think one stop will be the target, whatever happens, because we saw that in Silverstone, didn't we, with the punctures and that. The target was always a one-stopper, and it didn't quite work that way. So, yeah. We'll see. I mean, I'd like to see multiple stops, but we've had this conversation before. I don't want to force drivers into having to pit twice, because then you'll just have exactly the same thing, but they pit twice. There's just that variable, isn't there? If a pit stop goes wrong or someone gets a better outlap, a better chance of an undercut or an overcut, but I don't think mandatory 2 stops is the way to get. Mandatory 2 stops is the way to go. But we do want more stops. Do some onboards on the SkyPad. Medium to hard for Lando, says Commander Bank. I'd expect that. I think hard to soft would be ambitious and risky, because you can't overtake, or you're going to really struggle to overtake, and you're not going to have the grip off the line, are you, with the hard tyre? So I think if you go hard and those around you are medium and soft, you're just going to risk falling backwards and then get stuck in traffic, and it's going to eat your tyres up and overheat your car, and I just don't think that's a risk. So I think medium to hard would make more sense. But I wouldn't mind medium, soft would be pretty cool. Mercedes, the top 3 are gone, aren't they? 6/10 clear of Albon. Hamilton is. Verstappen half a second clear, but just a 10th and a half off the fastest time. So I think it's between Hamilton, Bottas and Verstappen for pole. But I think if I really want Albon to be 4th today. And that doesn't sound thrilling, but that's what he needs. If he can qualify 4th, get off the line well tomorrow, we're going to see this form that Christian Horner and Helmut Marko keep saying about him, that he has got the pace and that he's just unlucky with his starts or unlucky with strategy or timing of things like safety cars. If he can start 4th and not be in the pack, we're going to see what he can do. And it will also mean that we've got the chance tomorrow that Red Bull can take the fight on strategy to Mercedes. Having 2 cars is much better than having 1 up there, being able to mix things up. So 4th for Albon would be spot on. Obviously, if we can get higher, that'd be great. I wouldn't mind a Red Bull front row. No disrespect to Mercedes, it would just be nice to see something different. I can't see it, though. I really want the repeat of last week, says Mohammed. Do you mean the race? I don't think many of us would mind that at all. I think we quite like a crazy race again. We've had a few quiet ones, so a couple of crazy ones would be nice. Russia coming up as well. Yeah. I've got a feeling Russia's going to blow us all away this year, though, because we keep all talking about how terrible it's going to be, so we'll see. Right then, get the timer ready. 12 minutes for Q3, the top 10 shootout. Alex Albon ready to go. Everybody ready to go by the look of it. I think they're going to go straight out with this one, which is good. It's what we want to see. Cars on track. Daniel Ricciardo 5th in that second qualifying session. What can he do? Could he get in the mix, split the Red Bulls maybe? Renault have been a big surprise the last couple of races for me, so wouldn't mind them carrying that on. It's great to see Danny Rick with a nice racy car. Surprised at McLaren's pace, just looking at Carlos Sainz on TV. Quite surprised by their lack of pace this weekend. Expected more, honestly. All be softs as well in this session. Flat out. Lowest amount of fuel once again. I really want to back Verstappen for pole. I really want to predict that he's going to do it, but I just think, who do you think then? We're coming to Q3. Throw your predictions in the chat again. Now we've got a bit more of an idea of who's going for it, but I can't see anybody other than Mercedes on pole, and I still just got a feeling about Bottas. Just got that feeling. Feeling that Valtteri might just nick it, and he needs to nick it for the millionth time in this stream. He's got to get pole, and he's got to get to turn 1 first tomorrow and have control over strategy and get the win. He so frustrating last weekend for him that he beat Lewis Hamilton in the gap that Hamilton still has in the championship is 47 points. Yes, Bottas closed the gap, but not by much at all. We green. Red light still at the end of the pit lane. just waiting once again. A lot of people going for Hamilton and Bottas. It will be great to see Verstappen, Adrian there going with Verstappen. Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen. And there we go. We are green for Q3. I'll change everything again once we get the timing up. Don't worry about that. Or the timer up, not the timing. The timing's been up all session. There you go. And it is now Q3. Everyone coming out to Hamilton, Bottas, Stroll, Sainz, and is that Verstappen? Yes, it is. In the Red Bull. A new on Verstappen. Hamilton on new tyres. Bottas, Verstappen, Stroll on new tyres. Sainz on used. Of course, some of those in the top 10 that just got through will be on used tyres for this first stint. Hamilton going for his 95th pole position. Albon out there now as well. Leclerc do. Can he get a bit of a surprise here? Hamilton, Albon, Bottas, says Austin. Kimi for the win, says Ryan. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Another different winner. Kimi won a few years ago, but 2018 was it? But would still be nice. Still be nice to get Kimi up there again. One final win before he retires, if he retires. We don't know for sure, of course. J. Paul says, come on, Alex. Good to see you again, mate. Good afternoon. Hopefully I'll lay off him in the stream tomorrow, mate. Hopefully he'll have a better race and we won't have to say he was fine. Don't write off Stroll, says M2 Podcast. Never write off Lance Stroll this season. Sainz is going to be the first for a lap. I mean, yeah, I think Stroll and Ricciardo wants to keep an eye on here for splitting the Red Bulls, but I mean, it depends what Verstappen can do. If he can split the Mercedes, that would really set us up very nicely for tomorrow. Bottas, Verstappen, Hamilton would be quite a tasty top three, wouldn't it? So watching Carlos Sainz, obviously purple in the first sector. Nobody else has done anything yet. These are just the first runs. Dude looks so good around this track. Stroll goes purple now in that racing point. Apparently, officially, Stroll hasn't been confirmed for next year. Like, whatevs. we all know he's staying. I thought he was on a long-term deal, but then Sergio Perez on a long-term deal, wasn't he? So, there you go. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that Stroll will be. And I'm pretty sure he's got a contract for the next 30 years. Teammate next year, Seb Vettel. So, Sainz, here we go then. This lap comes around really quick, actually. Over the line, 1:17.8 for Carlos Sainz at the moment. And it's going to be Lance Stroll next. I think that is going to topple 1:17.8 versus a 1:16.3. Stroll 1.5 seconds quicker. I think Sainz was on used tyres. He was indeed. Here goes Hamilton over the line. I think he's about to go fastest. Trading purple sectors with Bottas. 15.1 for Hamilton. Are we going to get into 14s here? Bottas does a 15.2, so half a tenth between them. What's Max doing? Go on, Max. Give us a race tomorrow. What do we got? Ooh, 15.5. That's a surprise. 4 tenths off and 3 tenths off Bottas. Leclerc goes up to 5th, a 17.7. Albon goes 4th on a 15.9. And Ricciardo, a 16.5. Who was on used tyres for that one? That's the question now. So used tyres for Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. So yeah, they were fresh tyres for everybody else. Maybe we're not going to see Danny Ric splitting those Red Bulls. Lance Stroll, 1.2 seconds off the fastest time. 4 tenths off Alex Albon in 4th. Maybe Verstappen not got quite enough in Q3 to take this fight to Mercedes. I thought it was in there, but we'll wait to see if there's a mistake or anything like that. There's nothing, again, between Hamilton. I mean, 600ths of a second. There's been nothing really between them most of the season, has there, in terms of lap time on a Saturday? But it just shows all the talk pre-qualifying, talk about Hamilton being behind Bottas and Bottas having the upper hand and topping the first 3 practice sessions and looking really good. You just can't ever discount Lewis Hamilton, can you? And it must be so frustrating for Bottas. Like I said after Q2, it must be so frustrating to be in that car. Where am I? P1, P1, P1. Oh, it's looking so good. And then Lewis Hamilton goes out on track and just smashes it. Got to be frustrating and demoralising. But you never know. It's only 600ths of a second, half a tenth if you want to be like that. It can easily turn around. So Bottas needs to absolutely smash it in this next, the second part of this session. I'm hoping that, unlike last week, this goes to the wire in terms of time. There's nothing worse than the session, than laps being finished with 2 minutes to go. And it's like, right, well, that's that then. Just wait an extra minute, everyone. Albon is looking good. This quali says Victoria and Austin says Leclerc with a lot of exclamation marks. P7 for Charles, ahead of Sainz, Perez and Ocon. And on the used soft tyres as well, Leclerc, I believe. I'll just double check that. Leclerc was indeed on the used soft tyres, so he's got some pace in that Ferrari this weekend. I know, again, sounds crazy talking about P7 being pacey. Here goes Perez to the line. This can't be his only run, surely. Perez goes 5th ahead of Stroll by a 10th. Less than a 10th. Ben Roberts, Hamilton turns up when it matters. Absolutely. Of course, practice doesn't matter, does it? But it's a good way to get your eye in for the weekend. Perez is out there. Is that going to be Perez's only run, or has he got time to get back and get some tyres on, a bit of fuel, hasn't he, and go again? But I'm not sure what the tyre situation is in terms of what they've got left. That could be his only run. Fancy Strolls to improve on that and get that gap closed and get ahead of him. Here we go. Hamilton with 4 minutes to go is coming out on track. We are going to have some early laps here. That's a Red Bull, possibly Verstappen coming out. Here comes Bottas as well. And by Red Bull, I mean Ferrari, which was Charles Leclerc. How the hell did I get those liveries mixed up? Verstappen is out there. I thought I'd seen a Red Bull coming out of the garage. I'm not quite losing my mind. It's not far off. We're getting there. Alexander Albon, he's going to be out in a minute, so here we go. These are the final runs with 3.5 minutes to go, just over. In fact, exactly 3.5 minutes to go now. I'll keep an eye on Perez, see if he goes out, but everybody at the moment out on track. Albon is heading out. I've definitely seen him going on the move. But I'll keep an eye and see if Perez does go again. But we're about to have everybody on track except Perez. I can't see that he will. 3 minutes to go. Is that enough time? That is only lap. Katsuki. Oh, see, that's my kind of technical analysis. It says Bottas needs to press the throttle harder. That's the kind of stuff that I would normally make a video on. I think you need to press the throttle just a little bit harder, Bottas. I'd love it if it was just that simple. But that is basically my kind of technical analysis. I love it. Thank you very much for that. It made me smile. To be fair, I always grin from ear to ear when I'm doing most content, but certainly when we're watching qualifying. I love qualifying. And the racing, of course, but yeah. Here we go. Final runs then. Lewis Hamilton will be first to do his. I will keep an eye on sector times. We'll see what he can do. So 26.8 for the first sector. So we'll see. That was his last lap. Ocon down in 10th place. Sainz in 9th. Leclerc in 8th. Obviously no dropout in this one. This is for the top 10 on the grid. Perez, don't forget as well, drops 1 place for tomorrow's race for the incident with Kimi in practice. A 1 place. I can't remember if I've ever known a 1 place grid drop. Hamilton's slower in the first sector than he was on his other lap. So this is a chance for Bottas potentially. 26.9, a 10th down. Verstappen also only a 10th down. 27.0, less than a 10th. Got yellows out there. Don't take away from the excitement, please. Hamilton purple in the middle sector. We still have yellow flags. And Crofty suspects it might be Charles Leclerc. We're not seeing it at the moment. But we need to watch Hamilton's lap here, see what he can do. That could compromise a lot of people here on their final flying laps. It's in Sector 1. So anybody behind whoever that is in trouble here. So here goes Hamilton over the line with a 1. He was slower, didn't improve. Max Verstappen is not Leclerc, he's doing personal best. Max Verstappen, purple final sector, stays 3rd but closes the gap. Charles Leclerc jumps up to 5th place. What a lap from Charles. Up into 5th place. Good lad. What is that yellow flag for? Oh, Bottas has stopped. Yeah, okay, so I think it was Ocon by the sounds of it. So Bottas is cruising because he got caught out by the yellow flag. So that is it. Lewis Hamilton is on pole for tomorrow's Tuscan Grand Prix. So he can't improve because we had the yellow flag. So that is why Bottas wasn't particularly quick. So it must have been... Was it Ocon? But it is pole position confirmation for Lewis Hamilton. Bottas pits. 95th career pole for Lewis. But I want to see what happened with Ocon. Or whoever that was. Crofty's saying Ocon, and we should always believe Crofty. He never gets anything wrong. He's so good as Crofty. Bless him. We get a replay would be nice. I know, again, here we go, finally. So Ocon, what's he going to do? Oh, he spins it. He spins it into the gravel or into the grass. Does he touch the wall? Not quite. And then I assume that Bottas is going to come around and he just clipped the gravel on the exit of that corner. That's what it was. Rear wheel. Dipped it in the gravel and round he went. And I assume then we're going to see Bottas come round with the yellow flags. And that is what cost him any chance at pole position. Here we go on board with Bottas. And I assume you're going to see Ocon now in a spin. And there you go. Yeah, double waved yellows. And that was it for Bottas immediately. So there you go. It was a spin for Esteban Ocon, which has cost Bottas a chance to go for pole. Not saying he would have done it. Lewis Hamilton was still quickest, don't forget. Didn't improve on his final run, though, crucially, Hamilton. So the door was ajar for Bottas to get that one. But it was Ocon in a spin that has cost him. So Lewis Hamilton is on pole for tomorrow's race around Mugello with Valtteri Bottas in 2nd place. Max Verstappen in 3rd, did improve with a purple final sector on his final run to get himself sort of 3.5 tenths off the Mercedes. Alexander Albon, really good for him. 4th place, what was I saying before Q3? That's where he needs to be. That could make things interesting. But I think I'll go out on a limb and say lap of the day from Charles Leclerc to put that Ferrari in 5th place for their 1000th Grand Prix. Well done, Charles Leclerc, 1:16.2. And actually, only 3 tenths off Alex Albon in 4th. So that's a really good lap from Charles Leclerc. Sergio Perez in 6th will drop 1 place tomorrow with that penalty from practice. Lance Stroll in 7th place. And it's Daniel Ricciardo 8th, Carlos Sainz 9th, and Esteban Ocon in 10th, who of course had that spin and cost Bottas his shot at pole. And then it's Norris 11th, Kvyat 12th, Raikkonen 13th, 14th for Vettel, 15th for Grosjean, 16th for Gasly. That was the big surprise from Q1. 17th for Giovinazzi, 18th for Russell, 19th for Latifi, and 20th for Kevin Magnussen. So there we go. I think, are we in agreement? I'd be surprised if the internet agrees with me too much, but are we in agreement? Leclerc, probably lap of the day there. bearing in mind that the other Ferrari is down in 14th place. Yeah. Can't wait to see Leclerc in a competitive Ferrari again. Agree. Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat there. It just seems like people agree with me, which is good. Which is good. It's rare. Thank you. It makes me feel better about myself for a minute that I'm not going quite crazy. And I think Albon as well definitely deserves a shout. Yes, I know people will be pointing out immediately over on social media that he's half a second off Verstappen, but one, it's Verstappen, and two, that is fourth place. He needs to be fourth place in qualifying, and that is where he is. So that's the most important thing. Points handed out tomorrow, of course, and he does tend to go better on a Sunday than a Saturday. So he could be in the mix tomorrow for... I don't think on pace he'll beat Hamilton, Bottas or Verstappen, but if something goes on ahead of him, a safety car maybe that works out for him, or a retirement ahead, he could be in for a good podium here. So keep an eye on Albon tomorrow. But I'm really happy to see Charles Leclerc up there. Big weekend for Ferrari. I'm happy with that one. I'm happy with that one, and Albon as well. But I'm just looking through the field now. Stroll will move ahead of Perez, of course. That's P6 for him. I think the other surprise is the lack of pace at McLaren. But yeah. Reading chat, loving the conspiracies out there. I'm pretty sure there's no conspiracy between F1 and Ocon to get Hamilton on pole, but I do love, I love tinfoil hat stuff. Ocon made a mistake, he dipped a wheel on the gravel, and that's a yellow flag, and that's that. Nothing can be done. Bottas not to blame, Hamilton not to blame, just the way the luck goes. And you've got to say, a lot of luck does seem to fall Hamilton's way, but I remember as a Schumacher fan, and I never admitted it at the time, but you watch back, during his dominance, a lot of luck fell his way as well. It's just the way it goes. Vettel had a lot of luck as well at Red Bull, so just the way it goes sometimes. When things are against you, things are against you. But see, tomorrow is another day, and it's a race tomorrow. So if Bottas can get to turn one first, that's the key. That is the absolute key. It's turn one first for Bottas. We'll talk about that in a moment. Do some predictions for tomorrow as well. But yeah, I think what we'll do is I'll take a second. I need to have a drink. 1 second. I remembered one, but I put it behind me like an idiot today. Room temperature water. Is there anything better than room temperature water? Yes, anything. Anything is better than room temperature water. So what I'll do, that is qualifying over, so let's have a run through that order once again, and then we'll do some reaction to the session and some predictions before I disappear this afternoon. So Lewis Hamilton is on pole for tomorrow's race, a 1:15.144. Not a million miles away from the 1:14s, actually, which is what I was speculating on during that session. Valtteri Bottas in second place, caught out by Ocon spinning on his final run, so it's second for Bottas, but only 6/100ths off his teammate. Max Verstappen third with Alex Albon in fourth, so Red Bull could be a threat tomorrow. Expect them to go better in the race. Charles Leclerc, we've agreed with chat, or I've agreed with chat, and they've agreed with me that he appears to be lap of the day in fifth place, 1:16.2. Sixth for Sergio Perez on a 1:16.3. He drops one place tomorrow after that incident in FP2, I think it was, with Kimi Raikkonen, as my voice breaks at 34 years old. But yes, he will take a one-place drop tomorrow. So Lance Stroll will be promoted, but he qualified 7th. Daniel Ricciardo in 8th, Carlos Sainz in 9th, and Esteban Ocon in 10th. Like I say, had that spin on that final run. 11th for Lando Norris and 12th for Daniel Kvyat. Kimi Raikkonen as well, I think, deserves a nod for lap of the day to be in 13th place and out-qualify Sebastian Vettel in 14th. Romain Grosjean 15th, Pierre Gasly 16th, Antonio Giovinazzi in 17th, and then it's George Russell 18th, somehow out-qualifying his teammate despite having half his car in the gravel on his final run. Quite the achievement, kept it planted, brilliant. Nicholas Latifi 19th, and then it's Kevin Magnussen in 20th place. So I think, I'm just looking at that order now, The key, as I was saying a minute ago, to tomorrow for Bottas is he's got to get down to turn one first, because if Hamilton, we saw it in Monza, I know Bottas wasn't up there with him, he fell backwards, but if he gets out front, he'll build a lead, break the DRS, and then he'll manage the pace, and it'll be a nice, comfortable race for him and for Bottas 1 and 2. So if Bottas can get to turn one first, I think he's got a great opportunity to win that race. I know it sounds obvious, but he needs to be out front to have control of that strategy, because if he's behind Hamilton, the team are very unlikely. In fact, I would be very surprised if they even considered an undercut with Bottas to get him ahead of Hamilton, because they're not going to interfere. Their job or their aim is to win the Constructors, so they just want a 1-2 in whatever order. So they're not going to turn around and do an undercut with Bottas. So, got to be turn one first. That is the big pressure. And he needs to be punchy. Come on, Valtteri. We need to see elbows out. We want to throw it up the inside. If the opportunity is there, I go back to Silverstone. I think it was the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Turn one, Verstappen is staying up the inside of Hamilton there. That's what he's got to do. Don't want him colliding, but he needs to get his elbows out. He's got to take some risks tomorrow. I don't think, even if he wins the race, the championship is back on. But if he realistically believes he's got a chance, which he apparently still seems to do, then he's got to start racing hard against his teammate. And that starts at turn one tomorrow. So he's got to get that right. But he's got to get his start right. Struggled at Monza, didn't he? Off the line. So, yeah. That's the pressure on Bottas tomorrow. But his big problem, I'm fully expecting Red Bull to be quicker tomorrow as well than we've seen today. So I'm kind of think Max Verstappen is a massive problem for Mercedes tomorrow. And if Bottas were to have a Monza-style start and he ends up behind both the Red Bulls, he's in trouble, because it's just going to be... I don't see him being able to make that up to get ahead of Hamilton. So there you go. There you go. I think Max Verstappen's got a shot tomorrow of second place. Maybe the win. I mean, I don't know what their race pace was like on Friday, but it would be pretty cool to see a Red Bull win again. It just would be. And I think, yeah. But I think the battle in the championship, if you want to talk about that, is between Bottas and Verstappen for second. I don't think we're going to see... I think Hamilton's got number 7. I just don't see anything happening. People talk about race bans. I think The Sun did an article that was ridiculously clickbaity about how he's so close to a race ban, even though he's not really that close. He needs to make a couple of big mistakes to get that ban. I don't think anything's going to happen there, but you never know. You never know. What do we got? Russia next, and we've got a few races after that as well. 17 race season. Plenty of time for things to change if they are going to change. But yeah, I quite fancy Verstappen for splitting those Mercs tomorrow. I quite fancy that. I don't know in what order, though. I mean, possibly Hamilton, Verstappen, and then Bottas. Yeah, but I think out of everything we've seen today, I really want Charles Leclerc to be able to translate that 5th place into big points tomorrow. And Alexander Albon, I'm hoping he can get off the line as well and can give us a good race with Verstappen and give Red Bull strategy options. And just... I've said it so many times over the last few weeks, but when you don't have that second car there, the option isn't there to trigger an undercut. It's not there to force Mercedes' hands. So having Albon there could make a big difference in the race tomorrow. That grid, you may think Mercedes front row, but that grid with Verstappen and Albon 3rd and 4th actually sets us up fairly nicely tomorrow in terms of strategy. But do not go into tomorrow's race expecting mad loads of overtaking. If you do, in F1 generally, don't do that. But certainly don't do it this weekend. It's not going to be one of those races. It will be more than likely done at the start in the pit lane and only under DRS. So, yeah, but that midfield's nice and tight again. I think Leclerc's a big surprise in 5th place, but Perez... So where are we? So Perez on a 1.16... In fact, Charles Leclerc on a 1.16.2 down to Ricciardo on a 16.5. So that's 3 tenths between them. Carlos Sainz didn't hook up that final lap, so that's not really representative. But if you look at Norris 16.6, Kvyat 16.8, it's close. It's close in there again. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. Margarita says fascinating. It could be a fascinating... Fascinating is a great word. It really is, especially at the bit with Formula One, when you're a content creator and you're trying to sort of big up weekends, you're like, I think it's going to be fascinating. And that kind of translates as it could be a bit dull, but maybe someone will have a pit stop that's a second longer than it should be or something like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I'll just have a look through the field. It'll be interesting to watch Gasly coming back through as well tomorrow, 16th place. He's definitely out of position in the pace we've seen in that car, so I think we will see him come through the field. So that'll be fun to watch tomorrow. Vettel, hopefully will have some better race pace, although he's not really been there, has he? in the last few races. Norris on what will be an alternate strategy because he can start on any tyre he wants in 11th place. He's worth keeping an eye on tomorrow. There's some good stories out there to keep an eye on, definitely, but I'm very excited by those Red Bulls. I've just got a gut feeling. And we all know what happens when Sean has a gut feeling. Comfortable Mercedes 1-2. That's it. Take a few of your comments and questions there, and then I'll run through the order one more time, and then we will wrap it up. Just while I'm looking for some comments, don't forget to drop a like on the stream if you are disappearing. That'd be massively appreciated. I massively appreciate that, and thank you for joining me this afternoon. It's been a lot of fun just waffling, and once again, apologies for the technical issues. Astro says, will you do a race watch along tomorrow? You're desperate for them, aren't you, Astro, mate? Not tomorrow. We're not quite ready. Something being sorted. I need to send a message next week to get it sorted. But we're penciled in for Russia, assuming everything's okay. But yeah, definitely penciled in. I'm not saying definitely, penciled in for Russia. So, but I will be over on Twitter, moaning, making jokes, being an idiot, upsetting people, as I tend to. Commander Benkai says, Leclerc to hit Hamilton in corner 1. That'd be a story, wouldn't it? That would be a hell of a start from Leclerc as well. You've missed out a huge part of the story there, mate. That is a hell of a start to that race. Boring quali, boring race, won't watch, says King of Memes. I'm sure there'll be plenty others that agree, but I'll watch whatever happens with Formula 1. Intriguing, says Mattia Benotto. Intriguing. That's another good word, actually. Yeah, fascinating and intriguing. That's what I'm expecting tomorrow. How many laps is the race tomorrow? Says Coolio. 33388. It is 59 tomorrow. Could you just hear the confidence in my voice there? It's 59. I'm sure it's 59. Hang on. I've got it written down in my list of, Sean, please don't forget this because you'll look stupid on stream if you do, notes. And I've forgotten it, so I look stupid on stream. It is 59. It is 59 and 1 DRS zone, which is a run to turn 1. Perez with slower car out-qualifies Stroll, says Mohammed. Good point. He hasn't got an up-to-date car, has he? Stroll's got the parts on this weekend, so maybe Perez going to start his fight back this weekend, seeing as some people have got short-term memories and think he's all of a sudden a trash driver, which is the takeaway from old social media, which you can always believe, of course. We all know that Twitter is a source of all knowledge. Or likes to think it is. Warren M says 69 less 10. There's always one in there. There's just always one that has to lower the tone. Nice. I like it. Flying Tiger says, conspiracy. Get out. Just get out. I don't want you here. I'm not having puns like that. No way. Are you washing your hair or something? I have no hair. Yes, TV. But I'm going to polish my head. Right, no, stop it. Don't even go there. I meant the head as in on my shoulders. Shut up. Hot take if Leclerc gets a podium with the greatest Ferrari moment since Brazil 2007, says Katsuki. That is definitely a hot take, but I don't know about that, but I definitely think that it would be one of the shocks of the season. He's had a couple of podiums, of course, but obviously things played their part in Austria and again at Silverstone. But if he gets on the podium tomorrow, I think it would be one of the shocks of the season so far, along with Gasly's win, given how terrible that car is. Leclerc for podium, says Yash. The track looks brutal, says Coolio. Perez has a grid drop. Yep, we've gone over that one. He's got a one-place drop. It's just not even a punishment, is it? I suppose it depends who you fall behind. If you fall behind somebody much quicker, then I guess it will, and he'll fall behind his teammate. So I'll leave that to you. Let's do some predictions then. WD-40 on the scalp. Thank you, Michael. Do some predictions. Who is we'll go for podium, your top 3 tomorrow then, and then I'll give you mine, and then we'll go through the order very, very quickly and wrap it up there, I think is the way to go. What happened to Haas? What are you putting your predictions in? I don't know, just a lack of pace as they've had all season. I think that Ferrari power unit is obviously the problem with that car, along with any other issues they've got, and we know that Haas have had their problems. So, but I think Grosjean up there in 15th is quietly a very good result for him from qualifying. A 1:17.2, his teammate, of course, down in 20th. So I think it is just the Ferrari power unit plus whatever aero issues are on that car. But I'm not expecting to see anything mega from Haas or Alfa Romeo this season. Probably looking at Williams, indeed. Probably looking at next season as a step forward, bit of a transition though, and then 2022. I think Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams, if they've got the money behind them for 22, they are the best place to make the biggest gains. But of course, if you're last you're going to make the biggest gains, aren't you? And Mercedes won't make the biggest gains because the law of diminishing returns and blah, 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 blah. That was a random way around saying I don't really know. But yeah, I actually think Haas were better today with Romain Grosjean. So, but Magnussen 20th. And he's the driver that we keep talking about being the quicker of the two. And he's not having a great season, K-Mag. Neither driver's having a great season, to be fair. Although doesn't Magnussen have the points for Haas this season? Or the point? That's football, Sean. Check Formula One. Yeah, Magnussen's got the 1 point. Yeah, not having a great season, but there you go. He's still got the point for the team, which is awesome. Let's have a read through some of these then super quickly. Hambot Ver for Samar. Cringelord's gone with this almost the same. Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, Hambot Max for Varun. Astro's gone Hamilton, Ricardo, Leclerc, and then hopefully at the end, I think that's wishful thinking. Wish Wader says Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc, Verstappen, Vettel for Tim. Wow, that is a brave prediction. I like it. Could you imagine the conspiracy theory claims? The conspiracy theories if Ferrari get a double podium tomorrow. Let's go down a bit further. Ben says Hamilton, Bottas, Albon. Hamilton, Verstappen, Sainz for Coolio. Warren's gone with Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas. Mr. Labman says Ocon sucks. There you go. Katsuki says Bottas, Hamilton, Leclerc. Bicep says Hamilton. I've lost that. Said Hamilton for the win. I can go with that one for you. I'll try and find your comment again. There we go. Hamilton, Albon and Norris. Safe Plum says Bottas, Hamilton and Albon. Dylan says Leclerc, Stroll and Perez. That's a brave call as well. Couple more. Trying to find one that isn't Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc. Or Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen. That's sort of serious. Labman says Max, Sainz and Norris. Leclerc, Ricardo, Gasly says Curtis. I'd be surprised at that one, mate, but what a race, though. I'll say that. Bottas makes a mess of the start is a claim there, which has disappeared now. You had a good point, Sean. Don't say that. Albert can use the undercut to force Merckx to pit early. It says Warren. Don't ever say I have a good point because that'll be at my head. Will be big. I think I'm the greatest thing ever. I won't really. Latifi, Vettel, Stroll for Harshal. Sorry, no. Findlay says Albon, Ricardo, Kvyat. Two more super quickly. Hamilton, Max, and Leclerc says Michel. You know who you are. And Hugh says Hamilton, Bottas, Sainz. Could be an interesting one. It'd be good to see Sainz back on the podium. Second weekend in a row, of course. But yeah, quick run through the order then before I disappear. Lewis Hamilton, pole position, pole number 95 ahead of teammate Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen and Alexander Albon. Charles Leclerc in 5th place with Sergio Perez 6th, Lance Stroll 7th and Daniel Ricciardo 8th. 9th for Carlos Sainz and 10th for Esteban Ocon, who of course had that spin, and his spin cost Bottas on his final run as well. Lando Norris 11th, free choice of tyre tomorrow for Kvyat as well in 12th. 13th for Raikkonen, 14th for Vettel, 15th for Grosjean. It's 16th for Gasly. I'm telling you, he's my one to watch tomorrow. Keep an eye on him. 17th for Giovinazzi, 18th for Russell, 19th for Latifi, and 20th for Kevin Magnussen. But we'll wrap it up there for today. Thank you so much for your company, as always, on these watch-alongs. I've taken your feedback. I'll go back through the chat afterwards and take some notes as well. If you're watching this afterwards, it's kind of pointless telling you this now because you needed them an hour ago, but there are timestamps in the comment section. If you've come this far, never mind. But yeah, there will be timestamps in the comment section to parts of this video as well, or this stream for anybody that's watching a little bit later. But yeah, we will wrap it up there. So thank you for your company. I will be back. When am I back? Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Around about 5 p.m. UK time, an hour and a half after the race is finished for the race reaction. For the third week in a row, I am joined by Dan, the world's only Grosjean fan, or one of only 2 or 3 Grosjean fans anyway. He's with me tomorrow for the race reaction. Just a reminder as well, no content next week, so I'm working on some stuff, but stuff will be back from the week commencing Monday the 21st. I guarantee that will change because I have some massive breaking news I'll have to cover, but that is how things stand at the moment. Don't forget you can of course follow me over on social media. All of the links you need for that are in the description down below. Please do drop a like on the stream before you disappear. You can drop a like on if you disagree as well, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new too, so you don't miss out on any content coming up between now and the rest of this lifetime. I was going to say season, but it'll go on longer than that. I can guarantee you that one. But as ever, thank you for watching, and hopefully I will catch you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.